You
Mhm.
have a C market, and you have also all these sophisticated things that say this cacao is an 83, an 84, an 89. But when you grow regenerative, without fermentation, you have an 84. And
Mhm.
it's like a beauty. What do you do behind? It's all the terroir. You are working on the soil.
If you're starting or growing your business in these volatile times in coffee and you need a little extra support, our scope of business advisory services may be just what you need. Join one of our hugely successful mastermind groups for support in a group setting, or send us an email to discuss our one-on-one consulting and business advisory services, where we'll work with you one-on-one to solve specific problems in your coffee business. All our services come with a 100% money-back guarantee, so send us an email at support@mapperforward.org and let us know how we can help you today. Welcome to the Map It Forward Middle East podcast, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 4 of a 5-part series with the fabulous Angela Barrero from Bodega de la Finca in Quindío of Colombia. Angela is on a coffee farm, and in this series, we're talking about, will we have coffee and cacao in 25 years? So on Angela's farm, they grow a lot of things, coffee and cacao being two of the things that they grow. And off air, we were talking about the price of coffee. And I said to Angela, this is a great place for us to start the conversation on the podcast. Because, Angela, the price of coffee went really high this year. It went to $4.20. But adjusted for inflation, it's nowhere near what that price should be in order for coffee farmers to have a livable wage. If we adjust for inflation, the price of coffee, commercial grade coffee, should be somewhere around $14. And just for people who don't know what I'm talking about, let me explain this a little bit. 50 years ago, the price of coffee peaked at about $3.50. 50 years ago, $3.50. The price of coffee this year went past that for the first time and reached a record of $4.20. It stayed there for a couple of, not at $4.20, but it stayed above $4 for a couple of months, and then it started to come down. And this past week, it came down significantly. It has come down below $3 now, and it ended on Friday. We are recording this on Saturday, the 5th of July. And yesterday, the price of coffee hit $2.89. Now, in terms of where the prices were 50 years ago, if we followed inflation and we adjusted to the prices compared to 50 years ago, we say an inflation-adjusted number would be that the price of coffee now in 2025 should be, for green coffee, about $14 per pound for commercial grade coffee on the C market. It is $2.89. And so we, in the last episode, talked about regenerative agriculture as a way to help us grow more coffee. But the other part of the problem, as we had spoken about in the first and second episode of this series, Angela, is that it's not just that it's hard to grow coffee that is creating a decrease in the amount of coffee that's available in the world. It's the fact that people don't see coffee as a viable business model anymore for their farms, right? And you are a coffee farmer, you are a cacao farmer. That what's happening in coffee is happening even worse in cacao. These are two crops that are highly consumed around the world. And people who grow these two crops are saying it's not worth it anymore. Have I explained all of that correctly?
I think this is going to be controversial, but I think the cacao industry, a lot of years, grew on a basis of exploitation of people in Africa. So there was this labor that was very cheap. So because cacao is American, so the nature of cacao is grown in America, in South America. Some are Trinitarian, some are Amazonian, but the some are in Central America. But the cacao, the original cacao, was grown in Latin in America, and the coffee is originally from Africa. But what happened was like things because of
Right.
I think colonialism or something. It changed. So they took these trees and took them to Africa. They called them forastero. They grew them there, but the material came from America. And then the coffee went to America. And so for many years, Ivory Coast, Ghana, and like Africa had this area where cacao was grown. But the farmer in there was not like my abuelito, that he came to work for a farm and had a way to have kids that got a university degree. And like we were able to freely say, okay, I'm going back to the farm, because knowledge gives you like a freedom. And it's not a slavery job, even though my abuelito was a worker. Like whenever I see a worker in my farm, I see my abuelito. It's my own family. It's family. And so these crops are grown by the real people. And when you base a whole supply chain on slavery, I remember over the, like, I don't know if it was 2021 or 2022, a year where there was in Africa like a board that said which cacao came from an area that wasn't a slavery job, and they have like a fair trade kind of certification. And a big company in the US said, I'm buying the other cacao. And they stock that cacao and they live on the stocks that they have like warehouses. And then the drought came to Africa, 3 years. And over the first 2 years, the price didn't go down. The price was still very cheap, until there was literally no cacao in the warehouses, no cacao in the trees, no cacao. And then the price went up from more than $7,000. And since then, it hasn't gone down. Like in October 2024, it tend to go down. So cacao, October's, the prices tend to go down. But it's still like, if you see the line of the historic value, it's still very high. People thought like by the third year, price will
Stabilize.
change, and it hasn't lead. Why? Because there isn't enough cacao.
Just to give people an understanding of the jump, okay? So historically, when supply was stable, the cost of cacao was $2,000 per metric ton. In March of 2022, when the supply was shocked, and this, it's still disputed why, but they think it's because there was a bug that went and destroyed most of the cacao trees in Côte d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast, and Ghana, right? The price went from $2,000 per metric ton to $10,000 per metric ton. And it has since then gone as low as $7,000 and as high as $12,000. And it keeps going in between those two, depending on what part of the harvest we're in. But it has not dropped below $7,000 very much in that time. People expected that by the third year, that all of that would go away and we would go back to $2,000 per metric ton. because the supply would be stabilized. And what we have been trying to get people to understand, as the same thing happens for coffee, is that the supply problem is not going to solve itself overnight. Because the supply problem, people kept fake newsing all of this thing of like, no, coffee farmers are hiding coffee, and cacao farmers are hiding their cacao. Right? Angela, tell people why that idea is fake news.
You can't keep more than 70 kilos in your farm of cacao or coffee. First, cacao, it's very difficult to warehouse. It's where like fine cacao is mine. It smells like beauty. It smells like chocolate. And so bugs, rats, like all type of animals, they want to eat it because it's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to keep it in barrels. And so we can't have like many barrels. And the other problem is they steal your like right now my uncle is getting ready a cacao for sale, and we have qualities, and so I think the price, the sea market price has it can say whatever they want, but it has to have like an adjust, like in cacao did.
A differential.
It had to adjust, and then they had to pay 12,000 a ton because there wasn't cacao. In Colombia, we have a problem is we have a monopoly. And so this monopoly sets the price. So you see countries as Ecuador, which is just like Colombia, and Ecuador the farmers can sell their cacao 30% more the price than Colombia. Why? Because in Colombia, there is a monopoly.
Right.
That buys the cacao. But right now, because of the shortage, important companies are beginning to source cacao from Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
So cacao has the specialty of cacao is very strange. It's a cacao that has no cadmium or very low cadmium. They test that. And so this is like a metal that it's in the cacao, because cacao is a bioaccumulator. So it kind of holds on to anything that is around. Not only nutrients, but the bad things as well.
Right.
So these cacaos that are regeneratively grown, when they do the trace analysis, you don't get traces. So this gives a value to the cacao. So the market, the price of the market for a farmer that is regenerative and really does a good job doesn't really impact, because we have a price we set, and that's it. If you don't want to buy it, I find another client that is willing to buy a low cadmium cacao and is willing to buy a safe cacao for human consumption.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't buy cheap bars of cacao, of chocolate. That's not even chocolate. Like if you see
just
the
sugar
ingredients,
and milk
it's right. And oils.
Right.
And this is not the good thing you drink about cacao. And for coffee, I think it's almost the same. You have a sea market, and you have also all these sophisticated things that say this cacao is an 83, an 84, an 89. But when you grow regenerative, without fermentation, you have an 84. And it's like a beauty. What do you do behind? It's all the terroir. You are working on the soil.
You're tasting the terroir.
And this has an impact. So they ask for a quote, and I can't sell at C price. No. For me, it's losing money because all the work we do has a cost. Like the pickers, to pick 100 kilos of Colombian coffee hand-picked, it's about 100 kilos, $200.
Wow.
So you pay $200 and it's sold at $295. What is the price you told?
$2.89.
So you get 89 cents. So you pay 200 to the picker. And you get as a farmer 89?
That's wild. Well, and that's without paying for anything. You have to pay
And that's
the imports. Yeah. Well, and so off air, what Angela was telling me, she's like, listen, as the price drops, people are saying, that's it, we're done. We're not going to continue. We're pulling up our coffee trees, which is going to make the problem even worse. Which means because we're going to have...
pickers are not going to be willing to say, okay, now I'm lowering my wage to pick your coffee at lower than $200.
No.
That is a cost. It's not going down.
Well, and we've got a problem with regards to labor pickers, right? There is a problem where they're just not available. It's really hard to find labor. Angela's lucky. She's an employer of choice in her area. People want to work for her. But all over the world, it is really, really difficult to find people that will pick coffee for you. And so because there is a labor shortage, pickers can ask for really good money and they're going to get it. Otherwise, the coffee is just going to sit there on the tree. Right, Angela?
Pickers is higher the cost. Like I have a friend who has a farm in Costa Rica and their labor cost is higher than Colombia.
Wow.
So how can you sell at a C price a coffee at
$2.89
when you spend the $2
it's
just picking the coffee?
It's not possible. Yeah. What's really interesting about this is that there are going to be coffee farmers that are left, and those coffee farmers are looking for ways to extend their runway so that they can, you're one of them, so that you can continue to be here in 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So in the next episode, folks, we're going to talk about whether or not there's going to be coffee in 25 years because there's a lot of layers to the answer to this. So join us in the next episode. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. This episode is part of a 5-part series produced by Mapper Forward. Check the full playlist and guest details in the show notes, as well as how you can support our work in the coffee industry. Become a premium YouTube subscriber, explore our Patreon and any brands we've partnered with to bring you this podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really does help us grow our audience.